In the dark days of the 1970s, Uganda was gripped by the tyrannical rule of Idi Amin. Fear was a constant companion for its citizens, but one voice dared to rise above the silence. This is the story of Bishop Janani Luwum, a man whose faith and courage would ultimately cost him his life. Bishop Luwum used his prominent position in the Anglican Church to speak out against the atrocities and injustices of Amin's government. He was a beacon of hope in a land shrouded in darkness. But challenging a dictator comes with a heavy price. One morning, the state's terror arrived at his very doorstep. Security agents breached the fence of his official residence at Namirembe Cathedral. They began to brutally torture a man right outside his home, his cries for help echoing in the early morning air. It was a cruel trap. Being a man of God, Bishop Luwum couldn't ignore the pleas of someone in distress. He opened his door to help, and in that instant, armed men sprang from their hiding spots. They shoved him back into his house with the muzzle of a rifle, accusing him of hiding guns and plotting to overthrow Amin's government. They claimed he was part of a conspiracy with other leaders from his Akali tribe. This brazen attack on the archbishop sent shockwaves through the Anglican Church. Church leaders were disgusted and horrified. They called a secret meeting to decide how to respond to this blatant intimidation. They resolved to write a powerful letter of protest to the government, but Amin's network of spies was everywhere. He learned about the letter even before it was officially released. The bishops knew they had to act fast. They entrusted the letter to Bishop Luwum's secretary, Margaret Ford, with a critical mission. Bishop Festo Kivinger told her, "Tell Henry Oghlu, time has come for the world to know what's happening in Uganda." Margaret Ford embarked on a perilous journey to Kisumu, Kenya. She delivered the letter to Bishop Henry Oghlu, who used his connections to ensure it was published in London before Amin could intercept it. The letter was a damning indictment of the regime's lawlessness. It stated, in part, that while the Church did not question the government's right to administer justice, the actions of the security forces had gone far beyond any acceptable procedure. They wrote, "When the police and security officers deviate from these established structures, citizens become insecure, afraid, and disturbed." The letter detailed the shocking raid, saying, "To search him and his house at gunpoint deep in the night leaves us without words." With the letter public in London, Amin's hand was forced, but his fury was unleashed. On February 16, 1977, Bishop Luwum was arrested along with two government ministers, Ireneo Wilson Oriama and Charles Obeth Ofumbi. Amin staged a public rally in Kampala, parading the three men before the crowd. Other suspects were forced to read false confessions implicating them. Amin walked up to the archbishop, pointed a finger, touched his shoulder, and declared he is the one trying to overthrow the government. Bishop Luwum could only shake his head in disbelief. A short time later, Radio Uganda announced that the bishop and the two ministers had been killed in a car accident. This was a blatant lie. The truth was far more sinister. According to Henry Kemba, a cabinet minister who later fled Uganda, Amin himself was involved in the torture. When Bishop Luwum knelt to pray in the face of his tormentors, an enraged Amin personally shot him dead. The cover-up began immediately. The bodies were taken to Malago Hospital, where a pathologist, Dr. Kafir, was ordered to falsify the post-mortem report. Dr. Kafir, a man of integrity, refused to compromise his professional ethics. The soldiers then moved the bodies to a military facility where a fake report was finally produced. The initial plan was to dump the bodies in the River Nile. However, Vice President Mustafa Idrisi argued against it. He pointed out the impossibility of explaining their disappearance to their families and the world after announcing a car crash. So, a new plan was set in motion. In the early hours of February 17th, Idrisi called Eltikal Yefusa Banonaka in Gulu and ordered him to prepare for the burials of Oriama and Bishop Luwum. The bodies arrived in Gulu the next evening. Since Bishop Luwum's home in Kitgum was further away, Banonaka decided to bury Oriama first. Soldiers took Orima's body to his farm. His family was in Kampala, so only farm workers were present. According to Akali tradition, for a death with an unknown cause, the body must be buried in a goatskin. So Oriama was removed from his coffin, wrapped and buried in a grave dug by his workers. The following day, soldiers took Bishop Luwum's body to his ancestral home in Makwini. They found only his elderly mother, who was utterly shocked. She didn't even know her son was dead. The soldiers demanded she show them a place to bury him. The ground was rocky. After 2 failed attempts, they gave up on finding a suitable spot, dug a shallow grave in the hard ground, buried the bishop, and quickly left. The story doesn't end there. A rumor later reached Amin that Eltikal Banonaka had unburied the bishop but had given the body to the Americans. An arrest team was sent from Kampala. They surrounded Banonaka's house, demanding answers. Despite his assurances, they didn't believe him. They drove to Makwini that night and exhumed the bishop's body to confirm he was truly buried. Only then were they satisfied. After Amin's fall, Eltikal Banonaka fled to Kenya. He was later returned to Uganda to stand trial for murder under the new regime. In a strange twist of fate, he was set free when a key witness in court turned out to be a person he was accused of having killed. Even when faced with intimidation and the clear threat to his life, Bishop Janani Luwum refused to abandon his people. He famously said that a shepherd should not flee and leave his flock, no matter the danger. His murder sent a wave of terror through his fellow bishops, many of whom fled into exile. His wife and children also escaped to Kenya, finding refuge with Bishop Henry Okulu. Today, the legacy of Bishop Janani Luwum endures. He is honored as one of the 10 great Christian martyrs of the 20th century. A statue of him stands proudly above the great west door of Westminster Abbey in London, a permanent tribute to his courageous stand against tyranny and his ultimate sacrifice. He remains a powerful symbol of faith, integrity, and the unwavering fight for justice. Thank you for watching. If you found this story inspiring, please like this video and subscribe for more stories of courage and conviction.